Welcome back, guys. Yeah, I'm excited for this episode. We were thinking about topics, and honestly, like, I was looking at Zillow today. I was like, why not just ask Tristen questions since she's a realtor and I've never bought a house? So, and I'm sure many of you guys will benefit from these answers. So, that's the episode today.
Real estate 101. No. Real talk with Tristen.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So, I guess just starting off, like, what's something you think everyone should know before buying a house?
Everyone should know that you might not think you can buy a house if you're one of those first-time home buyers. But there are so many different ways that you can make it happen. Like we were just talking,
Yeah.
there's FHA loans that have down payment assistance, and they're changing those weekly right now. They're making it better for buyers now and trying to help others, like trying to help those people who can't necessarily afford buying a house right now. They're trying to make it easier. The government is. So they're rolling out all these new programs and stuff. So I'll have more information on that by the next episode, actually, because I'm meeting with one of my lenders this weekend. He's going to do an open house with me and fill me in on what they changed this week. But yeah, there's a lot of programs. There's down payment assistance, which is like literally you can go to closing with $0, and that blows.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, that blows my mind. Yeah, so they like loan you the money for the down payment in the loan, and then you just add it to your, it gets dissolved into your payment too, like it's in there.
That's crazy. That's a lot of risk. I'm surprised they do that.
Yeah, so yeah, it is riskier for the banks, but it's really stingent. Like they have a lot of restrictions and stuff, so it can't be a house that's falling apart, essentially.
Gotcha. Do
Yeah.
you know, is that like the only restriction, or do you know?
Oh gosh, you're asking a lot of questions. I'm just kidding. I know that it's similar to the things that an FHA loan requires to be like safe. It has to be a safe environment. Like the house has to pass their appraisal, and which is like their inspection. So it has to be livable, safe condition, basically. So like no huge cracks in the floors, no. I think they're strict on the peeling paint with that one too. But as long as the house looks like move-in ready and things are functioning correctly, it should be something that would be eligible for that. But yeah,
Nice.
my lenders can help you more with that.
Love it.
Yeah.
And like this is probably more of a I don't know, like a subjective question, but I'm just like thoughts. How much money do you really need to buy a house, do you think?
I literally had, I'm going to adjust this. One of my best friends asked me that like 4 days ago. I'm not even kidding. Because her and her husband are trying to buy a place. And they currently rent, and they're like, it's time. Like, we need the space. We need to, own our own property, whatever. And she's like, realistically, be honest. How much do we need saved in our bank account to get a house that's like $200,000? Like a small house that's livable, that's move-in ready, but needs some work that they can do themselves. I was like, okay. So I did the math, and I was like, all right, well, closing costs, they say to average like $5,000 around that, depending on the cost of the home. So I would ballpark $5,000 or more, or more to be safe. Why am I croaking? It's so weird. So because I'm trying not to talk too loud. But yeah, so ballpark like $5,000 for that, and then the appraisal's around $300 to $400. The inspection's about $500. So you're at like $6,000. Yeah, $6,000 already. And then if you think about your earnest money is usually $1,000 down. That will be subtracted from the sale price. What else did I tell her? But having that, and then your down payment on top of that. So I was like, you should try to save like $10,000 unless you're going to do down payment assistance for sure. I would try to save $10,000 just to have it, just to put it into the house and into all those fees. And there's like title fees and like admin fees for the brokerage. It adds up fast. And I feel like I'm going to start prepping my people too, more that have never bought a house, be like, hey, listen, do you have this much money like ready? Which the lenders do for you a lot. Like I send them to my lender, they talk to them, they explain the process, they tell them like, you're going to have to pay for this, this, this. So they are doing that, but I think reiterating that too, because sometimes people get to the closing table, they're like, dang, that costs more than I thought to get here. Because they were thinking, I have $15,000 saved, I'm putting that all down. I'm like, no, save some because you're going to want to pay all these things
Yeah,
too.
that's what I was gonna ask. So
Mhm.
you said like around 10 grand or so, like, or more. Is that on top of, like, should you have other savings aside for things that could go wrong in the house, or is it just strictly 10K in your bank account, you're ready to go?
Depends on the cost of the house you want, but I would try to save 10K and more if possible.
Yeah.
Minimum
Yeah.
10K just to get going. And this could be different in each city. Like this is just Fort Wayne, our Indiana law, like what it costs to close in our city. I know like closing fees and stuff are way different everywhere else. So if you're listening and you're not in Indiana, it's probably way off. But yeah, just making sure you know like your state's closing fees, the appraisal cost, which you'll ask the lender because they order that, whoever you're doing that with, and then your inspection, which we always recommend. And then you can always do a home warranty. So like you would be a great candidate for that because you're younger. You probably don't have an extra so much sitting aside just for oopsie things like something breaks in the house. Like you just want to get into your first property. You don't necessarily have a ton of money sitting around. The home warranties are great for that. So if like, so those are like, I think it was, we just did one, gosh, $400 or $500 to get one started, and it's good for a year. And then every year you renew it for, I think it's like half the cost. It's like $100, $200 maybe to renew it. And it covers anything like any appliances, any functions of the house, like the HVAC, stuff like that. If it breaks, you have just a small deductible depending on the company you use for it. And then they like fix it. It's like insurance on your car, essentially. If you get in a car accident, you have a deductible, you get it fixed.
Nice.
I know. So that's something a lot of people don't even know, and a lot of realtors don't share that with their buyers. Like you can get a home warranty if you want that peace of mind of like, hey, I don't have $5,000 or $10,000 for an HVAC in the next couple of years, and I won't. Just get a home warranty. It'll cover those kinds of things, and you can feel like at ease buying a house.
Yeah, because I mean, that was one of the things I was wondering about was like, yeah, I got to save all this money for a house, but then like that's like all my money. So then it's like, what if something breaks? Like now I don't have any. So like that's a cool way.
Yeah.
What are some other creative ways like that you could buy a house?
Oh, yeah. So how I bought my house it was very creative. I convinced the seller to do a land contract first and then for me to buy it out we did 6 months originally, but I extended it to a year. Because I was building out my credit. I was a new realtor. I didn't have a lot of money, income on paper. So it was very sketchy. Like, she's not going to get approved for a mortgage, but I did a land contract. So basically that's where you sign a legal document, which being a realtor, I had access to that, which was nice. And I had my broker manager overlook it all and like make sure I didn't screw up, because those are binding contracts, just like a purchase agreement, and you're locked in to pay like a monthly rent or fee to them until the terms come where you decide in a year you're going to buy it out. So then you have to go apply before the year's up and get a mortgage on the house and buy it before that date. So it gave me time to build up my real estate. I got a W-2 job at Art Home Photo. And so I had more like recorded income, and I was able to go get approved for a mortgage. And then at that time, the most awesome part of this is I paid it down. So every payment I made took off the purchase price. And we set the purchase price a year ago before prices went up in houses.
Yeah.
So I was locked in to buy it at that rate, and then I paid it down even more. So when I went to buy it, it appraised at like $50,000 more than what I bought it for, which is awesome. So I have equity instantly when I bought it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Does that hurt the seller? The one that...
Well, I mean, most sellers don't want to do that. Like, you might have to find an investor, which they were investors. They flipped it and they fixed it up and got it for cheap, put some labor into it, and then sold it for more and sold it to me that way. But it's hard to find those. I mean, I know I say, you know, it was the perfect scenario for me. But if you find a house that's not selling, it's been sitting on market, which is this one, you can negotiate. You can talk about that as an option. Like, hey, would you consider this? And a lot of people don't think about it as an option until they can't sell the property the traditional way. So, I mean, that's something you talk to your realtor about, something I could look for someone. Like, hey, I want to find something and do a land contract, or there's all kinds of different options where you can assume the mortgage and just get the rate that they're currently at. That's hard to get to because people want to make money now that rates have skyrocketed and they can sell it for way more. But you can take over a mortgage payment and then just give them extra on top of that. Like, there's just so many ways, so many crafty ways. And like listening to Bigger Pockets podcast too is a really good one that goes in depth on each of those things that I just listed. And that's how I learned about them first.
Nice.
And then I worked in the industry and saw it. But yeah, there's some options there. Or even like buying a multifamily with an FHA loan, which is now allowed. That's really smart too. You can put less down, so it's less out of pocket for you. You just have to be able to get the mortgage approved for the full amount. So typically a duplex is more expensive than a single family home, maybe. So you had to be able to get approved for a $300,000 house or whatever it costs. But you can come up with less money down to actually get it, which is crazy to think about.
Interesting. So is it true that you can, if you are buying a multifamily, that they will take like the assumed rent of the other units and add that into your income?
Some banks, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, there's like portfolio loans. Some banks work with investors better than others. And if you just ask around, they'll tell you who to use.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll tell you who. But yeah,
Sweet.
that would be very helpful too, because what she's talking about, if you don't know, like say you're looking at a duplex, which is 2 units, and you want to live in it, or no, say you just want to buy it, and you can look at that. Say they rent one side for $1,000, the other side for $1,000. You can take that and document it as $12,000 each side, so $24,000 a year in income that you will make on that property if they have proof that they're paying that currently. So you can use that when you go to the bank, say, hey, I want to buy this, and here's another source of income I will have once I buy this, and they can factor it in, and it'll go towards your income. It's tricky, and they get really strict about it sometimes, so.
And can you only use an FHA loan on a duplex like that if you live in one unit?
Ooh. I will have to check on that. I think you have to live FHA. I think you have to be a resident for so many years. You're supposed to live in it. It's a primary residence loan.
Gotcha.
I mean, they may have changed that. Don't quote me on that. That's a great question. Yeah. Now that you asked that too, I know that you have to, if you're living, you know how people traditionally live in a house 2 years and then they buy a new one and move up and then rent that one. That's like the progression, but I'm wondering if that's changed too. So I'm going to look into that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then going back to the land contract, what are kind of like the pros and cons as the buyer in that situation, like for you?
The pros is if you can't get approved to buy it. So I couldn't get approved to buy it yet. Instead of renting a property for the same or more or whatever cost, I was putting that money directly down on this house. So the money I was paying monthly in rent to them under a land contract went to take off my purchase price. So it deducted. Had I rented more, like longer than I was renting, I would have just paid to someone and never saw that money again. And it wouldn't have counted towards something I was going to buy. So that's a huge pro. Also, I was liable for any damages or any issues with the house. So if the plumbing went bad or like something broke, I had to cover it, even though I didn't own it yet per se. So that is maybe a con because you're responsible for things in the house, even though you don't have it in your name yet. But that's home ownership in general. So it wasn't a big deal to me because I plan on buying it. But I think those are two of the biggest things. As far as, I don't think there's many cons because like it's basically they're your bank. You're paying them to buy the house eventually. And it's just such a nice little hack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And then what would you say is like the biggest red flags in a house?
Ooh, let me think. Biggest red flags. Mold. My buyers and I were under contract on a house and we found mold, lots of it in the inspection, and we ended up getting out of it. Like we were like, no, we're not doing this, and we found a different house. But I think mold would be number one because why is there mold? Something's not functioning like either it was neglected and something's leaking, or there's no drainage away from the house, which requires putting that in, or pipes are leaking into the basement, or there's just something is wrong, something else that you're gonna have to fix. Yeah, you can remove the mold, sure, but why was it there in the first place? So that's a good thing to think about when you're looking at houses.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, you had to think like, okay, yeah, there's mice in the attic, there's traps. We saw a house like this the other day, but why? Is the roof not insulated well? Is there holes? Is there neglectful like parts of the house that are open to the outside? And then why, if they let that go, what else did they leave go, you know, kind of thing. So thinking about the big picture, not just, oh, there's like a spot on the ceiling, that's fine, we'll just paint over it. If it's tested when you do your inspection, they detect moisture, roof leak, or something's going on up there, you got to get in there and see why is that there. So that's something to think about too if you're looking at houses, or you're out house shopping, or getting ready to list your house or whatever. Like, why is this a problem? Like, what caused it? And you're gonna have to fix it whether you like it or not. If you buy the house or sell the house, someone will point it out. Hopefully they catch it, they don't buy it and get surprised with something like that. But or like the bowing foundation or any of that, like cracked foundation. Why? There's a tree with roots pushing on it. You have to take care of that. You can't just leave it, patch it, and hide it and leave it for someone else. Like, it's going to do it again. So you have to think about that.
How many people do you think, like, and even like other realtors recommending to their clients to do that, like patch something up just so that they can sell the house? How many people do you think do that?
Probably too many. Yeah. Probably a lot, because I actually see it all the time. Like, they'll spray paint the entire house, like trim, outlets, everything. I'm like, okay, what are we covering up? And then we tested, we literally found water. Oh my God. Yeah, in the like the crack, the exterior, like the end wall bedroom that went to the exterior, because the roof soffit things were broken and water was pouring right down the side of the house and coming in, so that whole wall was like warping, and it's hard to tell until you really looked at it, and they had just painted it white so you couldn't see the water damage. We found it, don't worry. But it's just one of those things where it's also a fixer-upper, and they're going to completely redo it, so it doesn't matter. But good to know that's a problem. We're fixing the roof, the gutters, that whole thing is going to be fixed so it doesn't continue to happen and continue to rot or whatever's going on underneath there, because that'll rot out your walls, and then the structure's going to cave eventually.
Yeah. So like when you find things like that, or just similar things like that, so okay, obviously you get on Zillow, you see a price. Is that the price the house is, or can you offer less than that? Like, how does that work? I guess
you really don't know that. Yeah,
I'm just asking
you can
for
offer.
everybody.
Oh, okay.
I'm just asking for everybody.
You can always negotiate. Everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
Like, if it's listed for $200,000 and you go and look at it and you're like, oh, this is wrong, tally it up, and I like literally mentally, and I'll do a note, like shared note with my clients, like, okay, HVAC is completely shot, needs replaced, approximately going to cost this much. We make a list and then we total it up. And we're like, okay, if you buy the house for the full asking price, you're going to have to put $10,000 in. Do you feel comfortable? Do I think that's worth it? And then I'll look at comps and comparable houses that have sold recently. And we always run comps on stuff to see what the neighborhood's doing. It doesn't mean this house is identical to this house that sold 10 years ago. No, it doesn't matter. It's like, we look at the time, like the springtime is like a busier time. Things are going up in price. We look at square footage, the location, the age of the house, just everything. It's so in depth that you would never know if you're not a realtor what all we do on the back end. It's crazy. But we look at all that, and there's a system for it. We enter in all this stuff. We find comparable homes. It like sorts it for us, and it puts in like a pretty spreadsheet, and we can send that to our people. But that's how we come up with these prices of like what we're going to offer or what we're going to list a house for. There's a lot of homework and like super nerdy research, which I do like it, because I'm like, oh, well, this one has a 3-car garage, this one has a 2, and then you adjust accordingly, and you gotta know like what the average going price is to adjust and stuff. And my brokerage is awesome. We do trainings on this all the time and make sure people are doing them correctly, because I mean, you don't know what other realtors are doing. So anyhow, so yeah, we adjust the price. So if you see a house and you find all these things need fixed and it's listed for this much, and your realtor looks it up and they're like, hey, I don't think it's worth that much, because if you put that work into it, it's still not worth that 220. If you put, or what did I say, 10,000 in repairs, 210, it wouldn't come out, like, wouldn't appraise, it wouldn't come out that much. So there's a lot of things to it. Like, I'll also look at how long it's been listed. Like, it's been on the market 90 days. Like, they are probably getting antsy. They want to sell it. So they're more likely to take less. So that's another negotiating tactic. You can always offer less. If you offer more, this is good to know, and it doesn't appraise, the bank doesn't think it's worth more, you can lose the deal. Like, it can actually, you can either pay more, which is not advisable, or they have to take a loss and you pay the lesser amount, which sometimes doesn't work out. They just don't sell, or they end up not selling that at the point. They just take it off market. But yeah, you can always pay less. You can't always pay more unless it's like cash or something else. Like, there's other ways, but that's something to remember. But yes, it's nice if you find something that's been on the market forever and it's like, oh, I can actually like offer less, but you don't want to lowball, because that will get an immediate no from a lot of people. So there's a lot to it. I feel like I'm ranting, but there's so much to it that it just takes a lot of like research and knowing your stuff, knowing the area, knowing what the going rates are. And it's good to have a realtor in your corner for sure. But yeah, I would say I have people come to me too and they're like, find me a deal. Like, okay, yeah, you gotta be patient, because we're gonna like really do our homework and make sure. And I'll look for, you can search by days on market too. So you can search for the houses that have sat a while to find those deals. So that's another trick you can do. I don't want to give up all my secrets though.
No, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
The thing I've learned is that just to give everything away, because like for me, like you telling me this, I can't go do that by myself. So it's like, if I trust you now that you're the expert, I'm gonna go to you.
Yeah.
And like use you. So.
And they all know this if they've been in real estate a decent amount of time.
Yeah. So okay, you said like so many things right there that I want to ask.
Sorry.
So like, okay, I just remembered the offer. So like they say no to your offer. How long does it take to like get another offer if you want to like do a higher offer for that same property or something like that? Like, is that easy, or is that something that's just like when you say no, you kind of look for something else?
Ooh, they can counter it. They can counter offer. Nope, we want full asking price. And then you get a chance to respond. And those transactions go back and forth, usually have a 24-hour time limit per response. So you offer, you give them a day, usually. Maybe if they tell you, hey, it's an estate sale, we need 2 days to contact the family members in charge. So doing your due diligence too first, I should have mentioned that. If you want to offer less on a property, don't just send it. Call the agent first off. If you haven't called them and your clients are interested in the house, like that interested, they want to offer, that's terrible. You want to call them, see what the situation is, feel it out. Like, hey, we're interested in offering. We went to the showing. We liked the house. It's a good fit. Is there anything else you want to tell me? That is one step some people don't do. And I'm like, yeah, like I'll share, like we're actually also going to fix the one we had. We also are going to fix the patio door that cracked, and we're going to include like an allowance or something. A lot of these things aren't in the MLS or in the system, and you can gain a lot of insight. And so then you know to put that in your offer. Like, we also want that patio door and we want that allowance. And those are things you don't know until you call that agent. So just blindly sending an offer is almost offensive anymore. Like, you didn't have the courtesy to call me and see like what the situation was, if we have any other offers already like in the works. Because then it gives me as like a buyer's agent, hey, guys, they have 2 other offers. We better not offer too low because we're not going to win. So we got to be competitive. How much do you want it? Like, would you be upset if you lost it over $5,000? Yeah, okay, we're going to give them a full price or whatever, or we'll make the terms more like appealing to them. So there's that too. So making sure to call and find out like, hey, will you entertain a lower than asking offer, and being polite and nice about it before you just send something. Like, I had someone send us for the 4-plex just a lowball offer, and they're like, hell no, don't even respond. I'm like, we have to respond. but like, it's offensive. It's like, well, why did you offer so low? And then I called them, and then got the conversation going, and I'm like, oh, well, they saw these things need replaced. And I give that advice to the seller so then they can fix those things and then they can get that full price asking like price that they do want. So communication is awesome. But if you want to offer something and then they counter it, say you offer 10K less, they counter back full asking. You can say, yes, we're going to give you that full asking. You can say, no, we're done. Or you can say, here's my counter, and you can counter, we'll give you 5K less. You can go back and forth all day long, but just like calling them, hey, we want to counter 5K less. Will they even entertain that? No. Okay. Save your time. Save your buyer's time. Sign it. You're done. Move on to the next house or whatever. But just communicating that. And you can actually get a lot of information out of how the realtor responds and their tone and stuff when you're talking to them on the phone. So paying attention to that and reading people through the phone even.
Yeah.
You can tell how desperate they are. If they're like, oh, we don't have any offers. Yes, please send us one. Or, you know, if they're quick about it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, we can get this for 10K off. Let's send it, you know?
Yeah. So in your experience, have you, when you have those conversations with like the listing agent, are they usually honest? Or have you, I don't know.
Both.
Like, how do those conversations usually go?
I've had them be very like abrupt with me before. I've had a couple where they're like, that's all we can tell you. That's it. Okay. I mean, I was just calling to see, and then I almost felt like I was offending them. I'm like, hold on. Like, I was just making sure, like, do you need 24 hours to respond? Like, what's the situation? I wasn't being nosy. I wasn't trying to, like, pull one over on you. So, like, keeping your cool, too, if someone gets snippy with you about that is very important, I would say, because then they respect you more. So I've had that happen. I've had them give too much information, and I'm like, ooh, I didn't hear that. But, again, like, okay, thanks. Now we know what to exactly offer and when. So they're not supposed to give, as a realtor or a listing agent, you're legally not supposed to give away too much to hinder your seller. So if I would say, oh yeah, the other person only offered us 180 and we listed for 200. So there you have it. And it's like, okay, well, I can get it for 181, you know, and that doesn't do them. That's not doing right by your seller, because they could get that full asking if you were more obscure and more like, yeah, I mean, just send us a good offer. We just want to, you know, we really want to get this house sold, but we aren't going to give it away for free. Just being like that really protects them and like allows them the best chance at getting a good offer. You don't want to undercut your people either. So I've had that where they're like, they told me, and I'm like, ooh, you shouldn't have told me that. Like I was going to offer more and got them more money.
Literally.
Like, you don't want to give away too much, but you do want to get it sold and like help, you know, get the deal going, but not at that detriment of your seller losing money.
Yeah. So in your experience of being a buyer's agent, have you noticed that, have your clients more when they offered, has it been less than the listing price, about the same, or more? Like, when have you had more of? Like, if you put all your clients together, like...
Depends on the time of year, for sure. Dang.
I guess going to that, like, time of year, like, how does that have to play into it?
Yeah, so springtime, summertime, it's, like, usually... Well, it depends on the economy. It depends. When I first started... Oh, gosh, I don't even remember. It feels like so long ago. I feel like we were just offering asking price and doing okay with that back in like 2 years ago. Was it a year and a half, 2 years ago? It was more like you could get by with just asking. But lately, I guess I'll just go to like lately, it's been like very lately, like within the last month, it's been like you have to offer, if they have it priced right and you did your research, you have to offer asking price, or even like a few thousand over, depending on the price of the home. Like, I'm trying to think, because I've had such a variety. Like the lower end homes, like the $200,000 range, we've been offering at asking or a little bit over. And then the bigger ones, it's been like maybe a little less. So it does depend on the price of the home, because in Fort Wayne, there's a lot of homes that are priced pretty high, but it's not necessarily where they should be priced. So I don't know, but we did do full asking on the Olive and Oak home. I mean, respectfully, we were like, we're going to give you what you want because they were so great to work with and it was so beautiful. So it does depend too on like how much they want the home and what they're willing to spend and how eager you are to get it off the market so no one else can buy it. Because that was that deal. We're like, we don't want anyone else to get this. Like, we need somewhere to move. So we're going to be very like, what's the word? Proactive, not proactive, but we're going to be very aggressive with our offer and just like, boom, that's our best. So, gosh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I've had a couple deals where we didn't win the bidding wars when it's been crazy busy, like early springtime. I had one recently and then I had one a year ago where we didn't win it, but it was like, he didn't want to offer over asking. It was at the top of his budget that he wanted to spend. So we knew there were other offers going in at the same time. So we were like willing to lose it. And then we ended up finding a house that worked even better for him. So there's a reason for it usually. But yeah, I don't know. Like lately it's been at asking or over to answer your question.
So have you noticed in like the fall, winter time, it's usually about like you could offer lower than asking price, or what's that look like?
Typically, yeah, I would general assumption depending on if you're thinking like investment properties, you can get a good deal in the winter on investment properties. If you're talking like actual homes for families, like single family homes, I would say the fall is still pretty busy. So maybe not lowballing yet, but in the wintertime, no one wants to move. So in general, but we live somewhere where it gets very cold in the winter. If you live in California, this probably doesn't apply to you at all.
Yeah, literally.
Like that's crazy to think about. I was talking to a realtor in North Carolina the other day when I was down there, and I was like, yeah, like how's the market for you guys? She's like, it's always hot. It's always hot weather, and the market is always hot because we're by the beach. Everyone wants to live by the beach. It's always busy. I'm like, imagine if I lived there.
Yeah.
Like,
and the
my
place,
business. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and the place that like you were at, like I know is so popular on TikTok. Like every time I get on TikTok, like it's all over TikTok. So I wouldn't be surprised there's a lot of people moving there right now.
I don't want them to though. It's so like chill still. It's not overpopulated. It's still I don't want it to become like Myrtle Beach. I lived there. It was just too many people.
Yeah.
Man.
So, okay, so say that there's somebody that's never bought a house before it comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
They want to invest in real estate at some point, but they might, I don't know, their situation like with finances is a little iffy.
Tight. Yeah.
So it's like, and they are looking to, move into somewhere new.
Mm-hmm.
Would you recommend them to start off with a single family home and just get themselves a place? Or would you recommend they go like a multifamily route and, start their real estate investing?
I knew you were going to ask this. Multifamily, if you can. I had a baby, so I didn't want to. I could have. Sometimes I'm like, man, I should have gotten a duplex or a fourplex or a triplex and just lived in that for a couple of years, rented out the other units. It would have paid for itself and some, and I could use that money to put down on a house. But, I mean, I found the perfect scenario that fit us well. That could be a really good potential rental when I do move on from this home. So my situation's a little different. But if you're single and you don't have, or even if you're a couple and you don't have children, or if you just have one and it's not like space isn't a huge issue, I would definitely get a multifamily unit. But that's just me like wanting to build wealth. I'm like entrepreneurial and I want to do those kinds of things. Some people are like, no, I don't want to be living next to someone. I don't want to live in like an apartment and whatever. So that's fine. Like that's cool. Get a house and maybe you can rent out a bedroom to a relative or a friend for a little bit if you want to make money on it. Or just get a cheap little house and slowly put your like time and money into it and make it nice. And then you can sell it and move on. But I would definitely, to someone who wants to like invest in their future, I would definitely recommend a duplex or a triplex if you can, and live in the best unit, like pick the best one for yourself and then just chill there for a couple years and enjoy other people paying your mortgage for you. Yeah. and then hang on to it and then go buy another house or move or whatever, but hang on to it.
This might be a weird question, but I'm genuinely just curious because, like, some houses are furnished when you buy them, some are not. What's, like, the percentage of that?
Never furnished, really.
Really?
Not usually, no. And that's the thing with staging, too. You got to be careful when you list a property with staged photos, which I've done, and it looks good. I recommend it if you have a big open space. It looks awesome. Our home photo does that for you, just saying. If you have to disclose in there, like, these are virtually staged photos, so people don't assume that furniture is included. I mean, they'll know when they get there, but
yeah.
also if you like physically stage and put furniture in a house, make sure you tell the realtor on the other side that as well, because they could buy the furniture. If we had an instance where they bought the furniture that was staged in the home, they were like, we want this furniture in it, so we don't have to move and buy new or whatever. So they actually like picked which ones they wanted. That's sometimes an option with like builders and stuff. But it's typically never staged unless it's like a spec home that they staged on purpose to show off. Or if someone's moving far away and they're like, we want to leave XYZ items, we'll put it in the listing. They can have them if they want them, or they can have them for this much money. It'll usually be in there and you'll know.
What about, like, appliances? So not necessarily, like, couches and stuff, but, like, stoves, fridges, stuff like that.
Supposed to leave them. It's like the normal thing to do. It's technically a fixture because it's fixed to the property. Like, it's in there.
Yeah.
So like a built-in microwave, refrigerator, stove, washer, dryer, dishwasher typically are included, but you definitely want to check on that, because I've had people who are like, what? It wasn't included. I'm like, no, like, it says right here, they forgot I told them that or whatever. Like, it's something you want to double check and make sure the realtor double checks with the other realtor, because sometimes they put it in wrong in the system. So
Dang.
It's rare if they were like, I want to take my washer dryer and move it across the country with me. That's very rare.
Yeah.
So you sometimes, which is terrible, sometimes assume it's going to stay there, but you definitely have to check on those things, because that's a rude awakening if you move in and you're like, oh shoot, I don't have a washer and dryer now, and I got to fork out more money and buy those, and I didn't plan on it.
Yeah.
But typically the appliances in the kitchen almost always are going to stay. They're supposed to. I mean, it's the kind thing to do. And then the washer and dryer usually stays, but sometimes I've seen them take them.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I guess what's something big that you learned that maybe at the time, like, maybe you had a client and it was like scary for you, but you learned a lot for future clients? Like, what's a situation that, I guess, just a big lesson you've learned on your journey, which I'm sure is a lot, but
yeah, which one? Well, I recently started doing a rehab loan, which has been crazy. There's a reason we don't do them often. It's a lot of moving pieces, and you close on a house that's not yet fixed. So it's like you close on the house, they buy it, and then the contractor goes out and fixes it, and then they appraise it at the fixed status, and then they make sure it matches like what it should appraise at. And if it doesn't, they have to pay like the difference out of pocket. So it's risky, but it's a good option if you want to buy like a house that's pretty much needs things, like it needs fixing to move in, like it needs a lot, and you can't just pay it out of pocket after you buy it. So it's an option for those kinds of people that want to fix her up or want to lump it into the price of the mortgage and not pay out of pocket for it. So that's cool. But I've learned a lot with that. I never thought I'd deal with one, but here we are. And what else have I learned? Oh my gosh.
okay, for that real quick, why would you not, so in like a situation like that, why would you not just go get a move-in ready house that has like maybe a little bit more of a listing price? I don't know.
Excellent question.
Yeah.
Their budget didn't allow it. We tried. So we looked at houses first that were at their budget, like of total like completed homes, and they were not very nice. And they were like, we don't want to live like this, and we don't have extra money for the next year or two to redo all these things that are going to make this safe for our kid. Like they have a baby or a child. So they're like, we don't want to move into a house like this and not be able to afford to fix it up and live in a dump, basically. Like we don't want to live like this. So can we find a house that's cheaper and take out that total mortgage and fix it up to make it nice and livable. I was like, yeah. So we came up with that idea together. Like, maybe we should look at that route. And turns out it is a better route for them. It's very rare that it is, though. Like you said, it would be a smoother process, because rehab loans take like 45 days. It's a lot longer than a traditional mortgage is like 30 to close. So they do have time where they're staying with family where they can be flexible and when they can move in once the repairs are done, because contractors are also very booked right now. It's like hot season. So we've been struggling to get them out there for quotes, even like to get this thing closed. Like that's the hard part. But yeah, it's an option for someone who can't necessarily afford a move-in ready house, and you got to get creative.
Nice. And for like finances to getting the mortgage, do you usually let your client kind of pick what bank they, obviously it depends what bank's actually going to give them the mortgage, but do you like recommend, do you set them up with that, or do they just kind of like choose their own?
I have my people that I like to work with that I know are going to get stuff done and on time. So I refer them, and I like gauge, okay, I have a couple good friends that are lenders now that have become good friends because they work hard and they are dedicated to their clients. They don't let things fall through the cracks to where things get postponed. Like I'm like super, what's the word? I don't mess around. Like I'm very firm in business, and I'm like, all right, if you screw up, like I'm not going to send you another client because I have all these other lenders I could use. And that client now thinks that I led them to that mess. So I'm very firm. I'm like, okay, who's going to get shit done, and who's going to do it right, and who's going to be honest, and who's going to take care of them and answer all their questions, because they're going to have so many questions, even more than they ask me, because that's the person that's locking them in for 30 years or whatever mortgage length they choose to pay them to buy this house. So they're going to have a ton of questions. So I want to make sure that person's going to take care of them and like be there for them when they have these questions randomly on a Tuesday at like 1 p.m. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen when this happens and we buy the house? And then they're going to call them. I want someone that's going to answer, someone that's going to respond and not be like rushy with it, or just like take time with their clients and really take care of them and continue to, because they're going to be paying them for years and years and years. So I don't want someone that's just going to close it and then ignore them. So yeah, I'm very picky about that. And over the few years I've been doing this in town, I've met some really good lenders. There's so many good lenders here. They really care about their people. So I'm not saying the ones I don't work with aren't amazing, because I'm actually like, I have my people. I have like 3 that I use. And I'm like, gosh, there's so many others that I've been meeting with and I've met through the, boss babes and stuff. And I'm like, I would love to send them someone, but I don't have enough clients to send to all of these great lenders.
Yeah.
So it's nothing against any of you who I may have met recently and I haven't sent anything to yet, but it's like, it's really hard because I don't have 50 clients a month to share, but someday I will. And, but I know how these people work too. So like knowing that, but we can't force them to use who we want. And if they come to us pre-approved from a bank or whatever, we can use that to get under contract, but they can shop their rate with other lenders while they're under contract. So I give them that option too. I'm like, hey, I know you got pre-approved with your bank from your hometown, but I have these couple lenders that I use all the time. I've used them for a couple years. I use them a lot and I know how they work. And I think you could talk to one of them and here's their information. They're like, oh, which one do you want me to use? I'm like, well, because of your situation, you're doing this type of loan and this person, I know I've done one of those with them. Then I'll decide who to send them to. So it's kind of like, I know you specialize in like first-time home buyers. You're really good with figuring out how to get them approved when they have a weird type of income. Like then I know to send them to that person. So it's kind of like vetting and learning and whatever. And like at first, when I first started, I just sent everyone to the same person, who was still amazing and I still use sometimes because they're probably listening. But that was like who was referred to me by my broker owner. They're like, we love this guy, use him. So I used him. Awesome. Never had a problem. And now I diversify it more. So I have a couple different people I use instead of just one, because not one person is a fit for every type of person either.
Yeah, I love that. That's really smart.
Yeah.
And something that I just always hear in the real estate world, just coming from a dummy and maybe other dummies. What is refinancing and what are the pros and cons of that?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So say, okay, I bought this house about a year ago now, at embarrassingly high interest rate because needed a house and wasn't going to rent or whatever. So my rate's like 7 something. I'll just say that. It's embarrassing how high it is, but my rate's at 7, okay? Currently, the rates are around, what, high 6s today? I don't even know. It changes all the damn time. I'm like, what is it today? Like, why even ask? Because it's going to be different tomorrow. But yeah, I should probably check on that because I think they changed again.
That's crazy.
They jump up to like 8 and then they go down to like 6.5 and then it's just like, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. You're still going to buy a house and then you can refinance later. So moral of the story, rates are lower today than they were when I bought my house. I could technically go refinance, which I want to soon, but I first am buying a car. So I'm doing it like strategically. But anyways, so I could go and say, hey, John, one of the guys I use, I want to refinance. And so he'll be like, okay, so send me all your information and then I'll fill out a form, yada, yada. It's basically getting a brand new mortgage again. And this is a lot of documents, a lot of paperwork on the same home that you're already in. So you redo, like refinance is like redoing your mortgage. If you think about it that way, that's how my brain has to associate it. Refinance, redo the mortgage. So I'll start from day one again for my 30-year countdown of paying it off kind of thing. But they'll reappraise it. They'll find out how much it's worth today versus I paid way less than what it's worth today because I paid less than what it was worth when I bought it. So I could technically talk about a cash out refinance, which I could take out the equity, which is something I might do for an investment thing I want to do. But so the traditional refinance, you pay for an appraisal, which is $300 to $400 these days. And they come out, they say, okay, your house is worth $300,000. So you go to the bank, take out a loan again, and it pays off the old loan. That one's gonzo. And you get one for $300,000 and it's at a lower interest rate, hopefully. So I could get it at a lower rate. So I could lower my monthly payments. But I'll add a year lifespan onto my mortgage because I bought it a year ago. So early on, if the rates change that much, it's definitely worth it. I definitely plan on doing it, but it just redoes your mortgage. Or if you want to switch lenders, if you don't like the bank you've been using or you want to try someone new, rates go down, all reasons to do it. Or if you're refinancing out a divorce or someone, there's a way to do that. You just got to get lawyers involved. But there's that. And then there's cash out refinance, which I'm looking into. You take cash out for the equity. So it's like kind of like a double mortgage is maybe a good way to explain it. But I could say, just for numbers, take $50K out. I have, I think, more than that in equity now, which is awesome. And I could use that and invest it in stocks or whatever the heck people want to do. I don't want to say too much because there's some things you're not supposed to do with that money, but I don't know yet. But you can invest it into something else, another property, whatever, or putting up a fence and fixing up your house, like adding value to the current home. You can take it out and then still take out that other mortgage based on what it's worth. But you're not going to owe, I guess I said that wrong. You're not going to owe the full amount your house is worth at that point. You're going to owe less because you've been paying it down. So if they appraise it at 300, say, and you spent 150 on it and you only owe 120, you only have to get a mortgage out for 120. But you could hypothetically get a cash out refi for the full 300 value and have that extra difference.
So why, okay. Sorry,
Life
I'm
hack.
just trying to follow. So, okay, so the refinancing. So when you first were explaining it, I was like, okay, so that means you literally have to start your mortgage over again from the start.
But it's
But
less.
you're saying, yeah. So why is that not something like everybody just does?
There's fees, like you got to pay closing fees and stuff. I don't think it's quite as high. And if you refinance with the same mortgage company, sometimes they waive a lot of the fees. But you do have to pay like closing costs again.
Oh, okay.
And you could put like money down again too.
Gotcha.
There's a whole, I don't know, it's a whole thing. I'm about to figure it all out firsthand, but it's something that makes a lot of sense if the rates go down and you want a lower rate and you want a lower payment, or if you want to start renting your house out and you don't want to just break even, you want to make money on it after you've fixed it up and it's worth more. Like, something with that. But yeah, if I would go out and get a mortgage for what I owe yet on this, it would be a lower payment immediately.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And then another thing I hear in the real estate world that I'm just like, I don't really know what that means, is like taking out a line of credit.
It's similar to borrowing like against your house, but if you don't pay it back, they could take your house, I believe.
Wow.
I'm not positive on that.
Yeah.
It sounds sketch to me. No. A line of credit is like, like your house is your asset that you own that's worth so much money. And then a line of credit would be like putting another loan on that loan.
Gosh.
So I wouldn't
That's
recommend
crazy.
it unless you had to.
Yeah.
Because debt in that way to me is scary.
Yeah, that's insane. Oh my gosh.
There's so much though, and I'm not by any means a mortgage specialist. I'm just a realtor who has heard this from my mortgage people, and I may be misquoting, so please don't bash me if I'm completely off. But no, I mean, this is the gist of it. I may not have all the details fine-tuned because I'm not a typical mortgage lender day to day, but these are the things I've heard. These are the things I've looked into for myself, and like wanting to make like smart moves for my future for financial like reasons. Definitely a good idea to refinance if you want to save money though monthly, or if your job, like if you lose your job, get a different job and your income's less and you want to refinance it so you can afford it, definitely a good idea. Or if you're wanting to buy another property or invest somewhere, like it's also a good idea. Like say I wanted to rent this out for, just throwing numbers out there. Say I want to rent this out for $1,000 a month, and I owe, which this is way off. Say I'm paying currently $1,000 a month. That doesn't technically make sense. Like that's almost a loss because of the carrying, like the costs of everything, the repairs, the tenant removal, anything that could happen, or property management even is like a percentage of that. So I don't want to say too many numbers because I don't want to, but so then I go to refinance and say I get my payment down to like $700 a month because I refinanced it. That's when it could make a lot of sense, and I'm profiting a few hundred a month.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was gonna ask something.
So many things.
Oh, okay, yeah. So for people who may not know, kind of explain the responsibilities that you have, the responsibilities that just everybody that's in this process, so that people just don't think the realtor does everything. Like,
yeah.
who are the people involved in the process and what are their responsibilities?
Mm-hmm. So it's my job as a realtor to make sure first off, to show you houses or whatever, like help you buy a house and do it legally with all the legal documents that we have, and make sure your butt's covered and, all that. So like buying the house process, writing the offers, negotiating on your behalf, making sure you're not getting screwed, doing the research, making sure you offer the right amount, all that. And then we have the mortgage lender, which is a huge role, which is why I'm so picky about it and so like careful with who I use. They are in charge of getting you pre-approved so you can offer on a house and telling me what budget to look in so I know what you can afford. So that's super important. We need that first to even start looking at houses. So as soon as you come to a realtor, they're going to want to say, okay, are you pre-approved? Like whatever. And after you sign an agreement with them to work with them, are you pre-approved? If so, with who? Can I see the letter? How much for? What are the terms? We need to know all that. And we're not just being nosy. Like we need to know because we need to know what we can even show you. Some houses don't qualify for certain loans. So we need to know.
Real quick, not to cut you off, does the person need to find a lender, or can they come to you first and you send them to somebody to get pre-approved and then they can come back to you?
We prefer you come to us first,
okay,
and we send you to a lender that we think fits you well. Because if you go online and find, I'm not going to name names, but one of those mortgage companies that are like based in California or Honolulu or whatever, and you're approved with them, we can't call them. There's like no actual person to call to, and this happened to a friend of mine. You can't get a hold of anybody. Like you're approved, but they didn't even look at your income or like there's some shady stuff out there. You have to be careful. So using like a local lender that we know is gonna get you in a house that you can actually afford, very important. If you're like, holy crap, I can afford that, maybe there's something wrong. So come to us and we'll guide you towards our options of lenders that are local and that fit you well. And then you can apply with them, give them all the documents they need, get pre-approved, and then they call us, hey, so-and-so can afford a house at this much, but it's FHA. Okay, so I know I can't show you a house that has issues visibly because it's not going to pass. It won't get approved through your lender. So me having a relationship with your lender is very important because they're going to be the ones that say yes or no, you can buy that house. And it's awesome if I can just text or call them and I know them personally. They're going to give me a lot of information about, like, make sure it's a house that's not in whatever range because of this and that. So it's super important to have a lender that you can actually call on the phone every day that you need to talk to them. So coming to us first is very, very awesome for us. It helps make it a smooth transaction. Because then when we go to write the offer letter, I like to get a pre-approval letter for the offer amount. So if you're pre-approved for $300K, but we're offering $250 on a house, I'm not going to send that person a letter saying you can actually afford more, because they're going to counter offer and say, I want more of your money that you can pay me. So we're going to get it like changed with the lender real quick and then send it. So that's just a little tidbit. But also, what was your question? The steps, right? The process and who's involved. So coming to us will help you get through the lending process. And we can even give you, like, this is what's going to happen. And then the lender will take care of you, give us the letter. We'll go look at the houses that qualify. We'll set you up on a search, all that stuff. And then I always do a buyer consultation before all of this. So we'll talk about all this. And then going out, finding a house, offering on the house. I communicate with the other realtor selling the house, and then getting under contract. Then title comes in. So the title rep comes in here, which I have a couple awesome title reps too that I use. Same thing as a mortgage lender. We have relationships with these people. We can call them. We can communicate with them. They can say, hey, they need this document, that document, blah, 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 blah. It's just so much smoother if it's someone we prefer or someone we trust to do it right. So that's nice too. So we send it to title, and title's they're gonna do the research on the deed. They're gonna like look up all the boring stuff that I would never want to do. I told one of my friends that does it the other day, I would not do your job, but you are doing awesome. But they do research. They're basically like little research analysts that research analysts that look up everything about the house, every type of loan or lien that was against it in the past. They look up the history of the home, and they make sure that nothing's going to come up that's going to prevent you from buying that house.
And then what happens if they do find something?
They can contact so-and-so, get it removed. It depends what it is. Or if they find out, like, hey, it's in a floodplain and you didn't see that and it wasn't listed on the listing and all this stuff, well, you got to get flood insurance. It's just another step you add to it. Not end of the world. We just had one close that was in a floodplain, and he's actually getting it off the floodplain soon because it's like on the edge. But yeah, I haven't had any really, I guess, crazy issues, but I've heard of some people have had things come up on title where someone had, like, the house got remodeled and they never paid the contractor, and so they put a lien against the house. So, like...
So what's that?
We're getting into, like, lawyer talk here. So basically, they like, sue them, of course, for the money, and they put it against the house, so they can't sell the house until they pay that back. So they go to sell the house, say to us, and it pops up in the title search, and they're like, oh, you guys also have to pay this before you can hand this house over, and they pay it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between getting pre-qualified and pre-approved? What's the difference between that?
Pre-qualified is just honky talk. It's just like, oh, I think you could afford this much. Pre-approved is you submit your pay stubs. You submit the proof, and they tell you can afford this much. And you want to do that. Like, yeah, we all want a $1 million house and can't necessarily afford it, but you don't want to strap yourself to a mortgage that you can't afford, and then you end up not being able to pay your bills. So it's a lot of work. It's tedious, and you may have to do it, find out you can't afford what you want, wait another year, save up some money, pay off some debts. But the mortgage person, I should have said this, they will help you, like, work on your credit score. So if you're like, oh, I may not apply yet because I don't think my credit's good enough, I don't make enough, you don't know. Like, you don't really know. So if you just apply, you see, and they can sit down with you and say, hey, if you just work on this for 6 months, we can get you into a house at this price. And it's happened. My client that just closed a week ago, he worked on his credit for a year and paid off certain debts and things that he had. And then we just finally got him in a house. Like, it was a year where he had a relationship with my lender, and he finally got it done, which is crazy. So that's another thing to think about too. You want a lender that's going to do that with you, and a realtor that's going to follow up and not forget about you like a year later. I was like, hey, we did it. You paid off these debts. Let's go get your house. And we did.
So from what I know, that affects your credit score, right? When you get pre-approved, because they got to pull your credit and stuff.
Yeah.
How bad does that affect your credit?
I don't think it's that bad. Honestly, I don't know. Not going to lie.
Gotcha.
Because I'm just like, just do it. You want to buy a house? No. I do know if you do it with one lender and then you do it with, I think it's up to 5, it doesn't affect you within 30 days. So you have like a month. That's when I say like shop your rate. You can apply with other lenders. It doesn't affect your credit because you're currently in that like bubble of 30 days where you can still apply elsewhere. Say you want to like try different companies and see what rates they're giving. They usually can match rates too, though. Ask about that. But if you're like, hey, I want to see if they can give me a better deal, it shouldn't hit your credit because it's in that 30-day period where you can apply to different ones.
So it won't hit your credit at all, or only hit your credit as if you only went to one?
Correct. As if you only went to one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
And don't buy a car while you're under contract. Your realtor will kill you.
Oh, my gosh.
Seriously. Or change jobs. Oh, my gosh. I had this happen. They changed jobs, I think, twice while under contract. Thankfully, my lender was amazing and figured out how to finagle that because it was an increase in income. So it was like a good change in jobs, but holy crap, we almost lost everything.
Dang, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And how, and you might not know this might just be for mortgage people, but like, say your income does increase, you're at the same job, whatever. How long do they look at that, like, consistency to?
Oh, so you get a raise and you need to know. I'm not sure. I'll have to ask.
Yeah.
I'm sure it takes, I've seen it where they've taken a letter of intent for a new job and used that. If like so-and-so is going to make this much money, blah, blah, blah. And that's just a written piece of paper. I mean, you may never show up to that job. But you better. But I probably not that long if you get a raise because we did just pull that off with that deal where he got a raise in a new job and we were still able to close on time.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, gosh, I keep like
you have a lot of
what
questions.
I'm gonna ask. I keep forgetting what I was gonna ask.
I could talk about this all day.
Oh my gosh. What was I gonna ask?
Well, with the people involved too, I don't think I quite finished that thought of you have your lender, you have your title rep, and then you you have like the title person is the one who closes. So they're the ones giving you the papers to sign when you close on your house, and they're the ones you call about like our taxes included is this da 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 da, and they like help you with all that, and they're the people you pay. Like your money, you wire it to them day of closing or day before closing. So they're very important too. And then you have like your admin assistants and stuff at the brokerages that are going to communicate with you too. But I think that's all the people.
Okay, so I remembered. So like you said, go get pre-approved, whatever. Like go get that done so that you know. Mm-hmm. 1, does that cost money? 2, are they under a buyer agreement with you at that time? And if they are, it doesn't matter how long it takes for them to actually, like, are they still in agreement with you? But I guess it could be a year from now till they could buy a house. Mm-hmm. They still in agreement with you.
It depends how long the agent writes the agreement for. So you can write it for a month. You can write it for a weekend. You can write it for a year. 6 months is pretty standard. That guy, it was like a referral from a friend that I sold a house to. So it was like, he's not going anywhere. I didn't make him sign a full like year contract because I knew he'd come back and I knew like I was going to follow up with him. And then when we started looking again, I had him sign a new one to make sure it was current. But you're not realtors can have them sign like, hey, when you sign a year-long contract to work with me, but you can, if you have issues, you can mutually release later down the road if you need to. But I don't know if someone's like, hey, I'm going to work on my credit for a year. I'm not going to make them sign a document to like, well, you better call me when you're ready. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of silly. If I'm giving enough value, they'll call me.
I love it.
But what was your other question before that?
Does getting pre-approved, does that cost money?
Oh, I don't know. No, it shouldn't. I hope not. No. That's just filling out a lot of paperwork and stuff and talking to a lender. And the lender knows you may shop around and not use them. It's the price we all pay, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that all your questions?
I think
answer
so.
everything.
I guess just another last one probably is like, what are all the hidden fees that come with buying a house? Because I feel like a lot of people just think it might just be you're buying the house, but then you got insurance and you got taxes and utilities and just all the things. Like, what are all the things that are hidden in buying a house?
It's not hidden.
Not hidden, but like,
it's just not talked about.
Yeah. So it is kind of hidden, but like,
yeah. So I guess my house, I mean, I have utilities. Depending on the house, some people disclose how much their average utility bill is when they list their house, and that's so helpful. Thank you to all the agents that do that. It's simply just asking the seller how much you spend on electric, how much you spend on gas, how much you spend on water on average per month, and you put it in the listing. Or you can put a document up. But it's just so helpful because then that person can visualize, okay, I'm going to spend this much if I live in this size of house here in this area. Like, that's what it's going to cost me, or that's how efficient this home is, or whatever. But I would budget like $200-ish for a small home for a couple, one or two people, for utilities in Fort Wayne, different everywhere. And then budget your utilities. Think about your internet or your streaming services too. Sometimes people forget about that when they budget, your cell phone, you know, all those things. But for the home part, definitely factor in utilities when you're looking at that. That's my monthly payment. Your lender should factor in taxes, and they can prorate or they can have the taxes like come out and put it in escrow, which is like it's tied into your payments. So I don't pay taxes manually. It's done for me with my lender.
And that's what escrow means?
Escrow is like with the transaction. It's in there.
Gotcha.
It's in escrow. It's in it. Is someone outside?
Yeah.
Someone's here?
Yeah.
What?
Is it Ryan?
I don't know.
Does he have a Jeep? Oh.
Yeah.
No, they're pulling out. Maybe it's because he's parked behind me.
Someone turning around. Weird.
We
have the window open. So yeah, escrow is basically like with the transaction. So it can be like in there. But so my taxes, I double checked because I got a tax bill. You still get a bill in the mail, so you know how much is going into it. And if there's a difference where they don't estimate enough, they don't save enough to pay it, they can still charge you like the difference. I think I have to pay like $200 difference, but they like estimate what they think taxes are going to cost that next year based on what they were the year before. So the lender will answer that question as far as what's my monthly payment going to be? Is my tax, whatever my tax, commitment, I guess, included in that, and how much I owe there, and then your insurance will be lumped into that too, and they'll help you find someone for insurance. They should. They better.
Your insurance is part of your monthly payment, like your mortgage?
It's all lumped in the mortgage, yeah.
Nice.
And then if you have PMI, we don't have to get into all that, but there's certain types of mortgages and stuff that have different additional insurance on the home because you're more of a risk when they give you the loan. Like FHA has like PMI, they call it, and it's like extra money you pay per month, but eventually it falls off when your house reaches a certain value ratio. Like it's worth more. It's like 75%, I think. I don't know. Depends on the package that you choose or whatever, but yeah, so I would just estimate like $200 for the utilities and then talk to your lender. Hey, does this mortgage payment you're showing me that's going to be include taxes and insurance? And they will tell you approximately this much, add that on. You can look at it and then you can like look at your budget and see if you really want to buy a house at that cost. Nice. Does that answer it?
Yeah. And then when you actually buy the house, like I think you might have said this before, but like the closing costs, paying you, like all that stuff. What's that look like?
Oh yeah, realtor fees too. I forgot to mention that earlier. You can factor in whatever percentage realtor fees that you agree with your realtor on to pay them too. So definitely factor that in when you're budgeting how much it's going to cost you to buy a house. You want to factor that in. Ask your lender if they're going to have the taxes and the insurance included in that payment that they show you, and account for utilities, because utilities always happen, and that's another cost of living in that home you want to think about.
Okay. I guess last thing, is there any advice you give to first-time home buyers?
Do it. Buy the house. You can always refinance if the rates are scaring you. It's better to pay yourself than to pay someone else to rent a home.
Nice.
As long as you can afford it. I mean, if the lender says you can afford it, you can afford it. So don't be scared. You can do it.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for me.
Okay.
Unless there's any other closing thoughts you have.
If you have any other questions, let me know.
That's your girl.
I love talking about real estate. As you guys know, I always slip it in when we're talking on accident because it's just, I'm so passionate about it. But I love helping people find homes. I love finding their dream home. And if you're looking, let me know if you're in Fort Wayne or Indiana, or if you're elsewhere, because I have connections all over America. So let me know. I can help you find a realtor that you can trust. So reach out.
Love it. And as always, guys, stay grounded
And keep growing.